Alright guys, so today we're checking out the brand new Cambridge Audio Melomania 1 Plus. Now last year they came out with the original Melomania 1s, it was under $100, and the audio quality competed against pairs that were 2 to 3 times the price in an earbud that was very small, that was in a case that was very small, and so I think a lot of people just really didn't expect that out of those earbuds. And since then we've checked out the Melomania Touch that came out 2 or 3 months ago, and as fantastic as I thought the audio was, there was some software issues. The earbuds didn't really work with the app all the time, and I had some connection issues, and that was the one thing that just kind of made me hesitate from just recommending them to everybody. So the fact that we have the Melomania 1 Plus here, which is basically improving upon the original Melomania 1s, I was really excited to check these out. Now these do come in retailing at $140, so they are $40 more than the originals. So there definitely needs to be some significant improvements to warrant that $40 price hike. We'll check out some of those features, we'll check out some of the others. We're gonna see what's inside the box and see if it's worth the $140 price tag. Now to start with, you can see that I have the black version here, but I do want to point out that it is also available in white. And another thing that I do want to point out, and this is one of the main differences between this pair and the original, is you want to make sure and download Melomania's app, because the original ones did not work with the app. This pair does, and what it does is it allows you to upgrade the firmware. It has a Find My Earbuds feature. There's also some pre-built EQ settings, but you can also EQ them yourself. And then it has a high performance mode, which I think makes a very big difference. But it also affects some things, but we'll talk about that a little bit more throughout this video. Now, as far as some of the technology in these, they do use Bluetooth 5.0, and they also have aptX, AAC, and SBC playback. And on top of that, these also use the True Wireless Stereo Plus connection. And what that does is allow your device to connect to each earbud individually, and it really has it where one earbud is not really depending on the other. And I found that in the past, and same thing with this pair, is it causes for a much more stable connection, and it also causes for a much more quicker connection. Once you take the earbuds out, they just connect to the device a little bit quicker than some of the others. Now, as far as using these outdoors, they do have an IPX5 rating, which basically means that you don't want to submerge these into water, but if they get splashed on, or if it starts to rain, or if you're somebody that sweats heavily, you don't have to worry. Now moving over to checking out what comes inside the box, this is definitely nice because as far as ear tips go, you get 6 sets of silicone ear tips, and then you get 4 sets of foam ear tips. Now if you prefer foam ear tips, which I know a lot of you guys do, I think it's really nice that you get this option out of the box. And in fact, on the packaging, it says that it prefers the foam ear tips for the best audio performance. Now I'm somebody that likes silicone ear tips more, and I do like that I have all of these options. Now, as far as a charging cable goes, this is another improvement over the original because the original used a micro USB cable, where these use a USB-C cable. And speaking of the charging, battery life is also very good on these. If you use them in normal mode, you're going to get 9 hours of battery life on the earbuds, with around 45 hours total using the case. But like I said earlier, I actually prefer to use them in high performance mode, and that does affect your battery life. It moves it down to 7 hours of battery life on the earbuds, with around 35 hours using the case. So that's still impressive battery life, and I prefer to just leave it in this mode so that I'm getting the most out of these earbuds. Now moving over to checking out the case itself, I'm a huge fan of the matte black. I feel like it keeps from having fingerprints all over them. The magnets are extremely strong, so the lid closes easily. The earbuds snap into place when you're trying to put them in the case. You never have to worry that they're in there correctly to make sure that they're charging. Now on the side, you can see the USB-C input for charging, and then around on the front, there are 5 indicator lights. That way you can kind of gauge how much battery life is in the case. Now moving over to checking out the earbuds themselves, they kind of look like little bullets, but they're identical to the originals. You can see that they're fairly small. Now, I do want to point out that this is a pair that I had to take out every hour or so because they did get slightly uncomfortable. Now, that could just be me. If you're going to use the foam ear tips, and obviously everybody's ear canals are different, you might not experience this, but I did want to point out that I did have some comfort issues. Now, as far as the controls on here, they do use button controls, which I'm a huge fan of. It just kind of lets you know that when you hear that click, that it's doing what you want it to do. And I'm happy to say that it gives you control over everything. So you have your play, pause, skipping your tracks forward, going backwards, and volume control all on the earbuds themselves. And another thing I want to point out, like I said earlier, because of that true wireless stereo plus connection, you can use either earbud individually. And then as far as the microphones on here, this is an area where I think they definitely did a good job. But one thing that I want to point out is if you're looking at the earbud on the outside where the button is located, you want to make sure that this little circle on here is facing down when you put them in your ear. And the reason for that is underneath it is where the microphone is located. So you definitely want to make sure that it's pointing down so that it's picking up your voice a little bit better. Now, these do use the CVC technology, so it is going to block out your surroundings. But if you put these in upside down and the microphone's facing up, it's still going to have a little bit harder of a time picking up your voice. But I think overall they did a really good job with the mics, and you guys can be a judge by listening to a test here. All right, guys, so here is a mic test using the Melomania One Plus. I think overall it does a very good job of picking up my voice. In fact, I think this is one of the better microphones on a pair of earbuds. There is a little bit of distance in the sound, but this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call. And so now here is a mic test with a crowd noise being played, which you can hear here. And so this is what it would sound like if you were to take a call in public. So now let's talk about the sound, because I feel like the sound of these is definitely the main selling point. It's not going to blow you away with features. You can tell that Cambridge Audio always focuses on audio quality, and being able to put these in a high performance mode and being able to tweak these in the EQ settings is what easily makes these stand out over the originals. The high performance mode I felt like boosted the bass where you can feel it quite a bit. Overall, it felt like a warmer sound signature, but the details of the mids and the highs had no issues coming through. But again, because you can EQ these, if you want to tone down the bass, you can. If you want to brighten up the treble, you can. And these respond to EQing really nicely. So it just kind of feels like it's unlimited to how you want these to sound. Now, are you going to get it to sound like a flat reference style headphone? No, I don't care what you do. That's just not going to happen on these because they are still focusing on a little bit more of a dynamic sound. This is one of those pairs that sounded great across all genres. I like the way that it sounded with podcasts and movies. So this is definitely one of those pairs that I could just use in a lot of different situations. Now, as far as the sound stage and the sound imaging, I felt like they sounded fairly open. It easily made me feel like I was in a larger room. And again, because of the clarity and because of the details that these had, I had no issues with being able to tell where instruments were coming from. Now, as great as I think all of that is, I still need to come back to some of the cons. One of the main ones is I realize that a lot of people, especially by looking in the comments, there are a lot of people that focus more on features than they do audio quality. And if that's you, this is not a pair that I would recommend because you can tell that audio is the main focus. So if you want Qi wireless charging or fast charging or an ambient mode, you're just not going to get it with this pair. And then really the only other thing that's a problem is the fact, at least for me, is it did get uncomfortable after about an hour's worth of use. So I found myself needing to take a break from these every now and then, but again, that could just be me. So if you are somebody that's mainly focused on audio quality and you want something that's not a large earbud and it's not a large case, I highly recommend these. I think the $40 price jump over the originals are worth it because you get USB-C charging, and being able to work with the app means that firmware updates can always make sure that you're getting the best use out of these, and being able to EQ these and have these in high performance mode makes a noticeable difference. But guys, that's my video on the brand new Cambridge Audio Melomania One Plus. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.